Our lecture today is on the benefits of human-animal bonding at any age, and it's by Katrina Ahrens, who is a certified veterinary technician. She trained at Carthage for 2 years, and she's certified as a veterinary technician for both surgery and nursing. She's had an interest in pets since she was a kid. Prior to becoming a technician, she worked at the Animal Humane Society, helping to feed the animals and give them medicines. She cared for her aunt and uncle's dog who died of cancer, and that's why she decided to go into veterinary medicine. Her talk today, well, besides that, she's certified by both the Wisconsin and National Board of Veterinary Medicine, which requires renewal of your license every 2 years. So it's just like any other medical field. You have to take continuing education and whatnot to keep your license. She's been at the Care Hospital now since 2023. She's going to talk to us today about pets, especially the physical, emotional, and mental support from pets, how to choose a pet based on your situation, your home, whatever. Also, as far as the veterinary care goes, including the expenses and how to keep and have a good relationship with your pet so that they're just as good a member of the family as anybody else. So,
Thank you so much. Yes. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Katrina, like he said, and I will be discussing all sorts of things with you guys today. So,
one other thing.
Yeah.
She said you can ask her questions during the talk or at the end.
Yes, whenever, just either shout out, raise your hand. I will be scanning the crowd continuously. So today we are going to be talking about the benefit of the human-animal bond at any age, particularly focusing on our golden years. So right now, as we said, we're going to talk about the physical, mental, and emotional benefits of owning a pet. We are going to be talking about picking the right companion for you. We'll talk about some of the veterinary care that's associated with owning a pet, and then as well financial considerations, just to make sure that it's not breaking the bank to have yourself a furry friend. So first thing we're going to talk about here is going to be the physical benefits of owning a pet. So if you want to show a raise of hands, how many of you have owned an animal before? Cat, dog, something special? So pretty much everybody in this room. So most of you know that pets in general bring lots of joy to our life. They are part of the family. They are a source of joy on our darkest of days. So it's something that having and owning one does bring a lot of happiness and a true sense of purpose to your life. So that being said, there have been some studies showing that there are actual physical benefits of owning an animal. So first and foremost, if you are owning an animal who requires a little bit of physical fitness, whether that's daily walking, multiple times a day taking a walk, that is not only healthy for your pet, but it's healthy for you. Helps your cardiovascular system. It allows for releasing of all of those good endorphins that come along with exercise, and it also helps with mobility. So not only for your pet, but for yourself. That is also something that they can reduce stress hormones as well. So, I don't know if you've ever come home from a particularly rough day at work and you're just like, man, I can't stand it. But then you see your little friend and you're like, all of that is gone. So it has been shown with scientific processes that it can definitely reduce these stress hormones. There's also been some science behind showing that it does reduce blood pressure. It reduces heart rate. It also reduces cholesterol levels, and those sources are directly from the American Heart Association. They had quite a bit of information in regards to that. So if anybody is worried about their heart health or know somebody who has heart health issues, it's definitely something to consider. Obviously, we kind of already touched on it, but there are different endorphins and enzymes and hormones that are secreted when you have a mood boost. So things like serotonin, prolactin, and oxytocin. And then as well, it will improve your physical life and health because it can actually change your vitals and statuses. If you start with a dog, you go on daily walks, that can definitely decrease some of the need for certain medications, blood pressure medications, stuff along those lines. So that's a little bit on the physical side of things. As far as the emotional and mental well-beings, it can obviously decrease any sort of depressed moods. It will reduce the sense of loneliness and have a companion, and it creates a lasting bond. So sometimes, you know, when I go home at night, I have my cat, and he is who I talk to, and I talk to my bearded dragon, who I also have. I do have some info on my kitty in here. Didn't feel like the lizard needed a feature in this one, but potentially in the future. It definitely, owning a pet will help create a sense of purpose. It helps you get in a routine, you know, every morning if you're finding it hard to get up and do your daily tasks. If you have a little cat who's yelling at you saying, hey, it's time for feed me, you know, it can kind of help create that routine for you as well. It seems to place people in a more positive mindset as well. Obviously, there's always frustrations when it comes to pets. They do things that they're not supposed to. Sometimes they're naughty, but, you know, at the end of the day, usually the benefits outweigh those naughty behaviors. Yes, exactly. I say that quite often. Yep. And then something that people may not always know or think about is that owning a pet can help create a sense of community. So, you know, whether that's taking your pet to the dog park or, you know, going for daily walks with a neighbor and your dogs, it's something that can create good, lasting, positive, not only human bonds, but then as well the bonds with the animals. So, now we're going to kind of transition into how do we know what the right pet is for us. So everybody has a different lifestyle. Everybody has different needs and wants and goals when it comes to owning a pet. So first and foremost, I always like to mention to clients, especially when they're talking about, oh, I think I want a pet. What should I get? Always thinking about your lifestyle. So if you live a more active lifestyle, think along the lines of liking to be outdoors, traveling often, doing exercise, things like that. You have to take into account what kind of needs your pet would need as well. So if you are a person who likes to travel for months on end, maybe a cat's not the best option for you because your kitty's going to be hanging out at home and you're going to be traveling. But maybe it could be something where you get a smaller dog or a medium-sized dog and they can come with you during the traveling. So always something to note there. Same thing if you know you have a more passive lifestyle. So if you prefer to stay in, you prefer to do arts and crafts at home. I am guilty of being that person. I love to be in bed by 8 o'clock. So it's one of those things that I knew in my lifestyle that a cat would be much more feasible for me. I do work quite a few long hours throughout the day as well. So, or throughout the week, I should say. So it's one of those things that I know that he is going to be okay. He's got a litter box at home that he can use. I don't need to rush home to get him outside to go potty if he were a dog. So that's personally more my style. Definitely, though, always use your best judgment and talking with your family, friends, whoever, create a good plan for that. Now we are going to talk about kitties. So, how many of you folks have owned a cat before? All right. And I'm sure there has been a sliding scale of very well snugly behaved cats, very wily crazy kitties. So it's one of those things that picking the right one, or at least going into some research to see what would be the best option for you, is something that we're going to talk about. So we have a few pictures here of just some cute little friends and fellas. All right, so I've kind of broken it down here into as far as ages for pets. So kittens are considered a kitten from 0 to 12 months of age. Adults are considered 1 to 6, and then any cat who is 7 or older is considered senior, only in number, not in our hearts. But it is something that you need to be cognizant of, only because if you were to be adopting an older pet, they do come with different health risks as well. So as far as kittens go, everybody loves a good kitten. They're sweet, they're cuddly, they're playful. They can also be very mischievous, and they can still need to learn. So if that's something that you're not interested in pursuing, maybe a kitten is not the best option. Maybe more so an adult cat. Adult cats, they usually come with all of their vaccines already if you're getting them from a rescue or a shelter. So that's one less financial consideration that you shouldn't have to worry about as much. Sometimes, depending on the type of cat, though, there are some health-related processes that would be beneficial to know about prior to owning them, just so it can be on your radar. Not saying that they're going to have that right away, but just so that it's not something out of left field that you're hearing about when they get diagnosed with something at the vet. So I do have a few examples on the screen here. So Maine Coons, those big 20-pounder guys, they look like little lions. Those guys, super cool, super awesome. They require a lot of exercise, require a lot of mental stimulation. As you can imagine, if that guy gets bored, I'm sure the couches are not going to last long. things like that. They can be predisposed to different types of health diseases, things like hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, so heart conditions. They can also be susceptible to polycystic kidney disease, two things that are manageable through medications, but something to consider when attempting to own a breed like that. And then our senior friends, every pet is always susceptible to things, but some things that we see quite often in the veterinary field when we do have older pets that come in are things like hyperthyroidism, diabetes, and kidney disease. They are common illnesses that cats can acquire. They are illnesses that do require a little bit more financial means in order to maintain them. Not to say that we shouldn't get one, but it is just something to keep an eye on. So next little bit here, usually for kitties, people just go, there's the fluffy one, there's the one with short hair. There are specific breeds of cat, and if you are interested in a specific breed because it meets your lifestyle requirements, by all means, if you do your research, go right ahead and get one. There are just the traditional domestic short hairs, domestic long hairs, those ones that you can find pretty commonly at the Humane Society, rescues, stuff of that nature. Purebreds, they can be found at the rescues and things, but it is oftentimes a little bit more rare. There are reputable breeders in town that can help guide you on the perfect purebred for you. And then there is always the option for those friends who need a little bit more love and attention, the special needs kitties. So whether that's adopting a cat that you know has a disease process like hyperthyroidism that will require medication long term, or diabetes that will also require medication long term. If you have the means and you have the heart for it, they always need a buddy too. So now we're going to talk about my cat. This is Sunny. He is a 3-year-old domestic long-hair. He was from a rescue in town called Crayon Specialty Purebred Rescue. She got him from overseas, from Saudi Arabia, so he actually came with his very own little passport and everything. But he had some special needs that were kind of noticed right away when he had first been brought over. They thought maybe it was due to him being kenneled long term, but it actually turns out when we did the sedated radiographs to take a look at his legs and his knees and his hips, he has some hip dysplasia. So that is something that I know that long term I will have to keep an eye on. Potentially he could need surgery in the future for it, but I mean, how could you ignore such a cute face, you know? So he is one that is thriving and having a great time. So we actually didn't know he was a long hair cat until he just started growing more and more hair. So as you can see, I thought I was getting a scrunkly little fuzzy guy, and it turned out that I am getting a long-haired, luxurious fella. So he has certainly increased the happiness and the mood in my life. I love coming home to him every day. I could talk about him for hours, but that is not what you're here for today. You are here to hear. So that is a great question. It depends on the situation. So for me, only having one is the best option for me because I only have space for one. I would love to have two so he could have a buddy at home. That would be something that you would determine. Sometimes people will get like 2 kittens at once. That can definitely be a handful. Not to say it's not a good idea, but you just have to be prepared that it's twice as much trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I used to have like a house full of dogs.
Yeah.
And one of my last seniors that I adopted got cancer.
Yeah.
And so at this point in time where I'm on a fixed income, as much as I look at pictures of I could have that dog.
Yeah.
I only am going to stick to one for financial reasons.
Absolutely.
So you don't know if suddenly you're going to be facing thousands.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is part of too why Sunny may be the only cat sibling for a long time, is because I know down the line he may need to have those additional orthopedic surgeries and things. Also, I am saving, things like that. But especially if you're on a fixed income, that is definitely always an option to weigh when you are picking a pet. It's not a selfish thing to weigh because you don't want to put yourself in a financial situation where you're not able to care for the life that you've brought into your home. So, great question. Yes.
That first screen you showed us about the physical benefits
Yeah.
seem to be dog related.
Yeah.
Are there some physical benefits from cats?
Yeah. So, I mean, the mood and the pheromone, or I should say the hormones, still count towards cats too. You know, coming home, having your kitty come lay on your lap, sitting with you. There have been some studies, I don't have exact numbers, things like that, but they have been noticing that When cats purr, they purr at a frequency that is considered a healing frequency. So not only for themselves, but also for you. So if you've ever been sitting with your cat and all of a sudden they start to purr, you may feel a, more sense of calm, things like that. Cats are very, very resilient. So when we see them, when they come in very injured, usually they're not having a good time and they're not purring. But when you start to hear them purring, you're like, okay, you're healing yourself already. So that would be a physical benefit, I would say, of kitties too, for sure. All right, I am going to move on here to our dog friends. So how many of you folks have had a dog before?
We have a puppy now.
Yeah, how's that going?
Well, we've always had rescue dogs.
Yeah.
We got allergies in Australian Labradoodle last summer.
Okay.
Puppy. We were, older, so we're like, we have it in us for another puppy. We decided we did.
Yeah.
But we walked for an hour with a friend at Pets this morning.
Yeah.
Before we came, so
Awesome.
he keeps us going. He's like.
I am sure. Yeah, that's.
And what you said about the socialization, we walk with friends.
Yeah.
You go to dog training.
Absolutely. Yes, it is a more social setting than people realize at times, dogs, for
He
sure.
does need exercise. So
Yes.
you can't get out and really walk them.
Absolutely.
Maybe,
Exactly. Yeah, and we're going to get to that. That's awesome. All right. So big or small, that is the decision. What fits best for your lifestyle? Do you want a couch potato? Do you want a ball of energy? Those are things that you all have to consider. As far as aging, about 0 to 2 years old is considered puppy age. Some dogs will mature slower if they are larger. Sometimes it takes them a little bit more to get their growth plates in place, stuff like that. Adults can be 2 to 7, and then again, seniors 7 up. Some things to consider as far as when you are getting the age or getting a dog of a certain age is especially, this goes for cats too, but the financial aspect. So if you're getting a kitten or a puppy, you may be in charge of getting them spayed or neutered, which is definitely a cost that is something that you should be focused on. We definitely are encouraging spaying and neutering at all times because we don't want any extra friends running around. It can also help reduce certain types of cancers, specifically related to the hormones that come from the reproductive organs. Male dogs especially, they can get a carcinoma directly linked to being unaltered. So there have been cases where clients will come in, they will bring their dog in for their annual exam, and we're like, oh, that looks a little suspicious. We go ahead, we take care of both the mass and the neutering process, and that definitely significantly decreases the hormones that are constantly stimulating. So it's something to consider there. Everybody is always going to have a little bit of behavior discrepancies when it comes to adoption, whether you get them right from a puppy and train them up. That is something that you can control a little bit more. When you are getting older dogs or dogs who have been at a rescue for a long time or at a shelter for a long time, they may have picked up behaviors that might not be as desirable as you would like. Not to say that it's something that you can't rework with them with positive reinforcement and fear-free techniques, but it is something to consider if you don't want to have the hassle of having a dog who may have, separation anxiety or resource guarding, things like that. Those are all things to consider prior to. And then senior pets, more so for dogs, they can have issues with heart disease, arthritis, and kidney disease as well. Especially with dogs, more so less with cats, but with dogs, we want to make sure that we're considering their grooming options as well. So I am sure that you said Aussie Doodle?
We have Australian Labradoodle.
Okay.
We always had rescue. This one has to go to the groomer. It's more costly, but
yeah,
we can do it. So yeah, hair grows.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So hair grows. So yes.
What happens with someone brings a new baby home?
Mm-hmm.
The dog act up
like a human baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is something that if you are, if you have grandchildren who are going to be coming over, that is definitely something to consider. Whether you're getting a puppy, you'd want to socialize them early on with the baby. There can be behavioral differences both with cats and dogs when adding any new stimulus to the environment. So whether that's you guys moved or there's a new grandbaby or there's a baby in the house, definitely is something to keep an eye on. Usually most dogs and cats are okay eventually, but it is just something that you have to keep an eye on, and it takes time to, address that. If they come from a rescue and they're not used to that crying baby sound, or that crying baby sound reminds them of something from their past. It could be that you need to, keep things a little bit more mellow, go at a slower pace. But if you have a puppy who's moldable and, is gung-ho about everything, maybe it's a little bit quicker to introduce them to the baby. So it's one of those things that everything is always just a little bit dependent on the type of dog, the lifestyle, things like that. But for the most part, they do tolerate new family members pretty well. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or concerns that you guys can think of right now? Yes.
Of the dogs, which breeds would you recommend for somebody with small children?
Yeah, so with small children, I would definitely stay away from the herding breeds. So breeds like German Shepherds, Australian Shepherds, yes, things that border collies especially, things that are more so geared as working dogs. They have a purpose. Their purpose is not to hang with the babies, it's to herd the sheep, it's herd the cattle. So we tend to find that, when clients do come in with those types of breeds, they're like, wow, they're really nipping at my kids. It's something that is very hard to train out of them because it's instinctually inside of them. So I would say for more beginner-friendly family member dogs, I would say definitely golden retrievers on the top of my list. They are very gentle. The only downside is that they are very predisposed to cancer, so you can lose them at any age. So that is something to consider when you have small kids, just thinking about the future, if this pet will, grow up with them, or if there's anything that will inhibit that, being able to kind of, field that before it happens. Other breeds, I would say Cavaliers. I personally had a Bichon Cavalier mix as a child growing up. He was the sweetest could be. He thought everybody on his street was his friend, but in a very yappy little dog way. So it's one of those things that he was great with kids. He was fantastic with kids, but you always have to consider external factors. Another kind of couch potato / good beginner dog breed, I would say, would be Bernese Mountain Dogs. They are very loving, very sweet. They are large. They do tend to have a little bit more grooming needs, but they get along well. Yeah, exactly. Yep. They are sweet, right? Havanese, yep, those ones are good too. They can be a little bit more on the spicier attitude side at times. They are very set in their ways and they know what they like. So if you do have smaller children around them, just making sure that the children are respectful of their boundaries. The littler dogs, sometimes they tend to want to lash out, not in a anger response, but in a fear response, because little dogs, people kind of tend to ignore their cues. They're easy to pick up. They're easy to carry around. I wouldn't want to just get picked up off the ground and then carried somewhere else. So sometimes with the smaller dogs, you just have to be a little bit more mindful, reminding kiddos that, the dog has its own being, just like if you don't want to get messed with, don't mess with the dog that way. But I think Havanese would be a good option as well. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I also walk my dog for like an hour usually, and I notice a lot of difference with how people have taught their children though to interact with dogs. Like a lot of kids will say, "May I pet your dog?"
Absolutely.
Most kids do, but like then my dog, she just really prefers to be petted on her back.
Yeah.
And so I tell them that, and they respect that. Also, like she's when I carry treats for training, and so like I'll break a treat and I'll give it to like kids like this big. They can't even talk. And I'll say, "Would you like to give her a treat?" And she'll sit for them. And so, like, I feel like how you teach the children to interact with dogs.
Absolutely.
Is, like, super important.
Yes, absolutely. It's a training affair for everybody of all ages. So bringing it back to the title. All right. This, we were already kind of getting into this as far as what breeds you should get. So smaller breeds tend to be a little bit more travel sized friendly. Sometimes they are able to be, even up if you were to travel on a plane, you can get the correct paperwork and they can be up in the cabin with you. They can sometimes be potty trained as well to urinate and defecate on potty pads in the house. So that's really beneficial if you are not someone who is able or wanting to do a whole lot of outdoor activities. It is definitely a benefit to be able to teach them that as well. Sometimes reduced exercise needs as well, as far as with the smaller friends. Not always. If you get like a miniature pinscher or a terrier of some sort, They are going to do what terriers do, and they will dig and they will run and they will be super wily little fellas. Medium-sized dogs, they can still be moderate travel companions, things like car rides, up north trips if you guys have a place that you like to go to. They're going to have some moderate exercise requirements as well. And then our larger breed friends, they will definitely have an increased need for their exercises with our larger breed friends as well. Some things to think about would be expenses for food and expenses for medication. So when you have your little 11-pound dog versus your 110-pound dog, things are going to be quite different as far as price tag goes on things like prevention, food costs itself. So always something to consider there. Definitely as well, we already touched on the grooming, but it is a huge thing. You want to make sure that your pet is well maintained, that we're not neglecting anything that is necessary. So if it's something that you're not comfortable doing at home, things like nail trims, brushing, hair trimming, then it is definitely something that you'll need to invest in a groomer for. And then lastly, what if a dog or a cat is not the perfect fit for you? So say you're not interested in having a dog, or a cat is not for you, whether it's allergies, you just don't want them, things like that. There are other options. So pets like reptiles, birds, fish, small mammals, they can be an option there. I didn't go too extensively into this as far as on the PowerPoint, but I do personally at home have a bearded dragon. Yes, he is super cool. His name is Pickles. He's about 4 or 5 years old now. I'd say probably like as long as my forearm. So from head to tail, he's a long guy, and he knows how to use that tail when he is not happy. So it is something though that he does bring me a lot of joy as well. It's something that, it's more of a looking pet versus a touching pet. He is, yes. So he is in a very large enclosure. It's about a 40-gallon tank at least that they should be in. And they do require specific lighting, things like that. So UV lighting versus just regular, lighting in your home, supplementation, things like that. The initial cost, I would say, was probably a little bit more than I was willing to take on at the time, but the maintenance cost is relatively low. Same thing with birds. If you're looking to have a little friend, I would definitely recommend smaller birds versus larger. It seems to be that the larger they get, the longer they live. So that is definitely something to consider. We actually just had a bird recently who was 40 years old. So older than myself, older than his owner. It is something that birds can get passed down through generation to generation. The smaller birds tend, yeah, exactly. Yes, they will be written into the will. Exactly. But the smaller ones, they tend to be still just as friendly, still pretty easy maintenance as far as that goes. Lifespan is not crazy long, but long enough to feel fulfilling, just so you had some sort of comfort companion in mind. Fish, I've had a bajillion. They bring me lots of joy too. Hours of staring at the fish tank. Very low cost once you get all the gear together as well. So, and then small mammals that can range anywhere from guinea pigs to rabbits to chinchillas. They are finicky at times, but otherwise very, very sweet companions. We have bunnies who come in quite regularly. They all each have their own unique personality. As long as you're not allergic to their food, which is hay, which is a very allergy prone thing. Definitely would recommend. Same thing with guinea pigs. They are sweet little fellas and ladies. It's definitely something that if you're looking into a pet, just do your research. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
You did get like a parakeet. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we had parakeets, but I don't remember about like the cleanliness part.
Yeah.
They were out of the cage, but I don't remember who cleaned up poop and stuff.
Yeah.
What's the deal with
Yeah. So as far as, let's use a parakeet, for example. So ideally, they'll need an area where they're able to stay at least at night. Whether you want to have them free roaming throughout the day, that is a personal decision. Ideally, it's going to need a little bit of heat support and requirement that way. So having an area in your home that you know is well insulated, that's not going to have a draft that could potentially cause upper respiratory infections, things like that. Daily cleaning, I've seen a few enclosures in my day. People tend to just put paper towel down at the bottom. It's an easy resource to be able to lift up. The way that birds urinate and defecate, it is all in one. So instead of a wet spot here from the urine and then the stool that way. Everything does come out all in one prepackaged little bundle, which sounds weird to talk about when you're talking about stool, but I said it and it happened. So it's one of those things that the maintenance of it, I would say probably weekly cleaning on the toys, weekly cleaning on like the perches, things like that. Relatively lower maintenance though, as long as you get into a good routine. Yeah. All right. Any questions about any exotic animals or any pets who are not just the traditional dog and cat? No, you got it.
How did you
Oh yeah.
get a cat from Saudi Arabia?
Yes. So through the specialty purebred cat rescue that I got him from, she was able to coordinate with rescue people over in Saudi who were able to get him transported over. So they have, particularly the rescue that I went through, she has connections all throughout the world. So she gets cats from all over the United States, but she's also gotten cats before from Saudi. She's gotten them from Russia. So it's kind of, if it falls into her lap, she is willing to, get them over here the best that she can. She does a lot of good work that way. Yeah.
Somebody had a oriental pig.
Oh.
I don't know what it was called. They had to get a special license.
Okay. Yeah.
In the house.
Okay. I'm not 100% familiar with, larger like livestock pets, things like that, but I have heard people get miniature pigs, things like that. So I would not be an expert to be able to tell you on that. I've not personally seen a pet, or I should say a pig in clinic. The wildest critter I've ever seen was a wallaby, because you are legally able to own kangaroos and wallabies in the state of Wisconsin. So that was pretty cool. He lived out in the 3-season sunroom. So that was his home. All right. So when it comes to veterinary care, it is definitely something that we want to make sure that our kitties and our dogs and everybody are up to date on their health care. So whether that is vaccinations, whether that is spaying and neutering, it is always something that we want to keep up to date with. So when you are looking for veterinary care for your pet, we definitely want to make sure that we are hitting a few of these markers here. So first and foremost, we have the AHA accreditation. This is the standard of veterinary excellence. Certain clinics will do their due diligence and comply with the AHA accreditations. This will set them above the rest as far as patient care. They are continuously working on improving veterinary medicine, continuing on with different techniques that will create less pain, less post-op issues, stuff like that. So we comply its care specifically to the AHA accreditations. Another thing that is unique to care is that we are a fear-free clinic. So fear-free means that we take into account the entire situation. So from the time that a pet enters our building to the time that we leave, we are constantly monitoring their emotional status, seeing how they are with the staff interacting that way, seeing how they're interacting with the doctor. If there is any point where their anxiety, stress, or fear is getting to a point where it's not acceptable, or we know that if we push this patient any further, things are not going to go well, we fully go ahead and discontinue the services. We are big proponents of making sure that our pets, when they come in, are wanting to be cooperative with their care. So it's something that not only does it reduce the stress and anxiety and fear from the pets, but in turn, we found that it also decreases the fear, anxiety, and stress in clients as well, knowing that their babies are being taken care of, their babies are not being pushed to the limit. So definitely something to highly consider there. And then usually clinics will have like their core values, things like that. I always just encourage you to look at those core values and see if they align with you. If you know that you are interested in more of a holistic approach, definitely reach out to a more holistic doctor. If you are interested in the most cutting edge surgeries, cutting edge medical care, then maybe something more along the lines of an AHA accredited clinic would work best for you. Definitely, when you do get set up, ask the questions, no matter what. If you think it's a silly question, they're not going to think it's a silly question, because at the end of the day, you are the owner of this pet. And if you have a question that is not answered and you have issues down the road, definitely we don't want that to happen. So asking those questions, get all the facts. And then as far as finances, if we are having concerns about financial, the finances of owning a pet, things like that, definitely call and ask and see what they offer. Clinics now have been doing a little bit more of offering bundled services, things like that. At CARE, we actually offer what are called wellness plans. So it takes everything that a patient would need within a 1-year category. So the vaccines, the annual blood work, the prevention, which can cost a pretty penny. It takes everything that they would need that way, and it divides the total cost into equal payments throughout those months. So just like your cell phone bill would come out or the electric bill, it would just be the vet bill. And then it takes out that worry or that mitigation of, oh, I don't know what I should do, or, I can't afford this lab work right now. Well, it comes with XYZ for lab work, and it comes XYZ for prevention. So that is something that is at CARE. It's not exclusive to CARE, but it is something that we do provide there. And then as well, if finances are a concern, there is always additional things that we can do, things like CARE credit. This is a line of credit that does not come from CARE Animal Hospital. It comes from CARE credit themselves, but it is a way to be able to have that additional buffer for expenses that you may not anticipate for a pet. So say you have that lovely little doodle friend who, is running around and gosh darn it, he sliced himself up or something on. Exactly. Yes, yeah, exactly. So things that are not regularly anticipated, CARE credit is a way to have that buffer without panicking. So always something that you can take a look into. It's fairly easy to go ahead and get approved for it too. Usually clients, when we offer this to them, they will be able to look it up and tell us whether or not they're approved within the room before their 30-minute appointment is over. So that's always an option. Another thing that has been getting more popular and is definitely recommended is going to be pet insurance. So whether you get insurance for yourself via the state, via work, things like that, there are pet insurances specifically. So I believe like Allstate has a policy, things like that. But the pet policy here, this is actually a website that you can go to, and it takes the numbers from all the different types of insurance companies, brings them all together, and helps you compare the costs. So you don't have to do all of the individual work of going to every single website and looking and seeing what their numbers are. Pet policy really does try and help cut that out for you. As far as insurance goes, it's smarter to get the insurance when you first get the pet versus later on or later after something has been diagnosed, just because insurance companies, just like humans, they try their best. But if it is a pre-existing condition, then it can definitely be a little bit difficult to have that coverage there. So it's something to consider. And I do have some handouts on that if anybody wants some information afterwards. I have both little cards and then a few of the pamphlets as well. So not only for CARE, but for CARE credit and then policy as well. All right. And then in conclusion, biggest thing to do is if you're looking to get a furry friend, just do your research, whether that's online, whether that is at the library, whether that is word of mouth. Definitely take into consideration everything you hear in order to create the best possible option in finding your new friend. Definitely be cognizant of the financial needs that are required for your new pet as well. And then finding a friend that fits your lifestyle, researching breeds that are specific to what you are interested in, and then always, I like to throw it out there, give a shelter pet a chance. There's lots of them there. They have good little hearts. Most of them come already pre-spayed, neutered, vaccines for the first year of their life. So definitely something to consider that way.
Aren't they behavioral? Like a behavioral?
Yep. Yeah. At the shelter, they will do. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I know the Wisconsin Humane Society for sure does that. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So they've done a little bit of that background history checking for you as well. So that is all I have for you folks today. Yes.
Could you talk some about your work hospice technician?
Absolutely, yes. So not only do I do surgery and regular just nursing status at CARE Animal Hospital, I have taken upon the role of being a hospice nurse as well. So obviously, we love pets from the moment we get them to their very last breath. In that last few moments, whether that's days, months, years, it is difficult. It is difficult to watch your family pet dwindle from what they used to be. So CARE has created this position in order to have that middleman for the clients. So instead of calling and saying, hey, Dr. So-and-so, my dog is doing XYZ, I'm really scared. you can say, hey, can I talk to the hospice nurse? And usually I'm able to kind of help mitigate the client into, what their best options are. If there's an acute emergency, I can be like, hey, this doesn't sound too great. Maybe we want to head over to the emergency clinic, or, this is something that is normal for the disease process that your pet is dealing with. So don't panic just yet. Or even times I am there to be the one to say, hey, I think it may be time to go. And it's something that I am not here to judge these pet owners. I am not here to tell them one way or the other what they should do. I'm just there to be their ear, because it is something that is so emotionally taxing and draining to, watch that family friend, that family pet. We're in Kenosha. Yep, Kenosha, Pleasant Prairies. Yep. Yeah, so I really enjoy that part of it. Obviously, it is sad to hear, one of my hospice patients passes away, but what started my journey into vet med was my aunt and uncle's dog, who was diagnosed with cancer. It was awful to watch. There was nothing we could do, but I knew that the staff that was there taking care of her at the time, they did everything that they could, and I knew that I wanted to be a part of that, whether that was helping with the treatment, helping with the managing of the symptoms, or even helping say goodbye. So I am there for all of it, and it is fulfilling, and I enjoy doing it.